Welcome to the Change Making series by Tinker Champs, who are on a mission to educate their fellow ATL students on a variety of topics of mutual interest. As part of this mission, Tinker Champs are bringing out several micro-learning modules on tinkering, problem-solving, innovation, entrepreneurship, and change-making and other topics. In this 10-part podcast series, Tinker Champs will help you understand the essentials of change making and how you can be a change maker too. Each podcast is approximately 15 to 20 minutes and includes a change making activity for you to attempt. Without further ado, let's start with episode 7 by Tinker Champ Nitish Garg, a class 9 student from Delhi and a change maker himself.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
Good to be here.
So today we're shifting focus a bit. We're putting away the usual blueprints for innovation.
And picking up something maybe even more important, the moral compass.
Exactly. We're moving beyond just, building cool stuff. We're talking about building it right.
With integrity, responsibility, thinking about the actual impact down the line.
And we're drawing on some really fantastic material for this. It's all based on the Change Making series by Tinker Champs.
That's right. Specifically, this is episode 7 of that series. It dives deep into the architecture of ethics in innovation.
And we absolutely have to give credit to the source author here.
Mm-hmm.
This framework, these insights, they come from Tinker Champ Nitish Garg.
Mm-hmm. Really powerful stuff tailored for young innovators.
So up until now, if you've been following along, you might have been focused on scaling your idea, getting the word out, storytelling.
Right, crucial things, absolutely.
But Nitish calls ethics the silent force. It's this invisible layer that determines if your amazing idea actually helps, or maybe even harms.
Yeah, it's the difference between a flash in the pan and something that truly lasts and builds trust.
Because without that trust, your project just fizzles out, right? No matter how brilliant the idea.
Totally. Which brings us right to the core question. Why is this ethics stuff so, non-negotiable for change makers?
Okay, let's try and unpack that. What do we even mean by ethics in this context?
Well, at its simplest, it's the moral framework, right? The guidelines that help you figure out right from wrong, good from bad in your project.
It's like developing a kind of moral muscle, as the source puts it.
Exactly. And that muscle, it builds the foundation for everything else. Trust. Think about that Sam and Priya analogy in the material.
Right, the fundraiser example.
Yeah. Sam kind of exaggerates the need, maybe isn't totally clear where the money's going, a bit cagey.
Gets more donations initially, perhaps.
Maybe. But Priya, she's super honest, gives regular updates, shows exactly the impact every dollar makes.
Okay, Priya's obviously the way to go. But let me push back a bit, play devil's advocate.
Go for it.
If Sam's, let's say, creative accounting gets double the money, and that money genuinely does go buy textbooks for kids who need them, isn't there a greater good argument? It's tempting.
It is tempting, and that's the trap. Sam gets that quick win, sure. But the second people donors, the community, find out he wasn't straight with them, poof, trust gone.
And that kills the project long term.
Instantly. That gut feeling telling you Priya's way is right. It's built on honesty, transparency. You cut corners there, even with good intentions, and you risk doing real harm.
Okay, so it's not just about avoiding outright lying or stealing. It's more nuanced. How do we actually think ethically when faced with tricky choices?
Well, the good news is it's a skill you can learn. It's not just, philosophy. There's a structured approach.
The material lays out a 5-step process for ethical thinking, right?
Exactly. It helps you break down the dilemma systematically.
Step 1, identify the stakeholders. And this means everyone affected, not just the people you want to help.
Right. Like if you're doing a survey about stress, your classmates are instantly stakeholders because you have their personal thoughts, their data.
Step 2, spot the ethical questions. This is where you ask the hard stuff.
Is anyone getting hurt, treated unfairly, misled? Is the consent you think you have real, informed consent?
Like that example of filming students for a documentary. Do they really know how that footage might be used years later?
Huge question. Okay, step 3. Imagine the consequences. Short-term gains versus long-term effects.
Like copying someone's project idea. Short-term, quick result, maybe a good grade.
Long-term, your reputation is shot. Nobody wants to work with you. Trust is destroyed.
Then, step 4, check your values. This is where it gets tricky because sometimes good values conflict.
Yeah, like wanting your project to be super effective, maybe cut some corners for speed, versus being totally accountable and honest about risks. Which one wins?
You have to consciously decide. And finally, the crucial step 5, Seek advice.
Don't go it alone. Talk to a mentor, a teacher, someone you trust. They can often see angles you've missed.
Okay, so that's the process for thinking it through. But what standards are we aiming for? What does good look like?
That brings us to the core ethical principles. Think of these as your North Star when things get confusing. There are 6 of them.
Let's walk through these because they're fundamental.
First up, honesty. Just tell the truth about what you're doing, the results, and yeah, especially when you mess up.
So if your fundraiser doesn't meet its goal, you don't hide it. You explain why, what you learned.
Exactly. Second, fairness. Treat everyone the same. No discrimination, no playing favorites.
Like picking club members based on skill, not just because they're your friends.
Simple, but important. Third, transparency. Be an open book about what you're doing, how decisions get made, where the money or resources are going.
That public log of income and spending you mentioned earlier, great example.
Fourth, accountability. Own your actions. If your project causes a problem, don't duck and cover.
Listen, apologize if needed, and fix it.
Fifth, safety. This is crucial. Protect people's well-being physically, emotionally, and digitally.
That example of asking before posting photos online, that's basic digital safety and respect.
Absolutely. And finally, number 6, responsibility. Think ahead about unintended consequences.
Could your project accidentally cause harm somewhere else? Like an animal shelter project, causing stress to the animals if not done right.
Precisely. You've got to think through the whole chain of impact.
Okay, principles laid out. Thinking process defined. Now let's make it real. How does this play out in actual projects?
Yeah, theory's one thing. The real world is where it gets tested. The sources give us some great case studies, successes, and, well, some cautionary tales.
Let's start with the positive. What does ethical success look like?
On the local ATL level, there's the Invisible Hands Project. Remember that one? Students setting up a network to shop for elderly neighbors during a crisis.
Yes, a fantastic initiative.
And their success wasn't just the service, it was how they did it. Super clear consent forms, really high safety standards, including background checks for volunteers, and total transparency with weekly reports.
They built trust right into the system.
They did, and globally. Look at Dr. Verghese Kurian in India's White Revolution. Huge, massive change.
The milk cooperatives, right?
Yes, and the core of it was ethics. Ensuring farmers were paid fairly, that the whole system was transparent. It proves that being ethical isn't a drag on success. It can actually be the engine of it.
Powerful examples. But we also need to learn from the mistakes. What happens when ethics gets sidelined?
Well, there's the famous, or maybe infamous, Great Pacific Garbage Patch Project. Big idea, lots of funding.
Huge hype around that one.
Massive hype, but ethically, problems. They made exaggerated claims about the tech's effectiveness. There was a serious lack of transparency when prototypes failed. And critically, they kind of ignored warnings from marine scientists about potential harm to sea life.
So the lesson there is,
Yeah.
hype can be dangerous if it's not backed by solid, honest work.
Exactly. Trust evaporates fast when reality doesn't match the promises. And we see similar issues on a smaller scale, too.
Like the Smart Dustbin project from ATL.
Yeah, that one looked great in the demo, right? Picking up big, clean objects in a nice air-conditioned room.
But that wasn't the real challenge.
Nope. The team knew the sensors struggled with fine dust, with soot, in a normal, messy environment. They basically hid the real-world limitations by keeping the demo controlled.
Classic case of showing what it could do in theory, not what it would do in practice.
Then there's the AI attendance tool, using facial recognition on students.
Without clear consent from students and parents. Big red flag.
Huge. Immediately fails on data privacy and safety. The tech might have been clever, but the implementation was ethically flawed from the start.
And it's not just student projects. Big tech struggles too, like the Google AI bias example.
Right. AI tools showing bias because they weren't trained or tested on diverse enough data sets. It shows fairness isn't an add-on. It has to be designed in from day one.
Okay, so we've got the thinking steps, the core principles, and real-world examples of success and failure. How do we make this practical, like in the moment when we have a decision to make?
We need a quick tool, something you can use on the fly. That's where the Ethics Compass framework comes in.
The ethics compass. Okay, tell me about that.
It gives you 5 key directions to check before you make a move. It forces that perspective shift.
Okay, what are the directions?
North is empathy. Are you really seeing this from the user's perspective, especially those most vulnerable?
East is inclusivity. Who might be getting left out by this decision? That coding app example, if it's English only, you're excluding kids who need local language support.
Exactly. South is transparency. Are you being totally upfront about limits, risks, costs?
West is accountability. Are you prepared to own mistakes and fix them? Is that even budgeted for?
In right in the center, tying it all together. Sustainability. What's the long-term impact on people and the planet? Will this cause harm down the road?
Let's test it. That funding dilemma you mentioned earlier, Clean Water Project. Big sponsorship offer from a bottled water company.
Okay, run it through the compass. Empathy? How does the community feel about bottled water's impact? Transparency, can you honestly promote clean water while taking money from single-use plastic?
It makes a conflict really clear. It might be easy money, but it could damage trust.
And that's often the choice. The ethical path might take more time, more effort, maybe finding different funding, but it protects your integrity. That's the change-maker difference.
So, thinking about the future, when projects grow, when they scale up from, say, 10 people to 10,000, new ethical challenges must pop up, right?
Oh, absolutely. Scaling magnifies everything, including the risks. The biggest one that explodes online: data privacy and security.
Suddenly you're responsible for way more personal information. Protecting it gets much harder.
Exponentially harder. Who owns the data? How secure is it? How long do you keep it? Plus, transparency and accountability get more complex. You have new stakeholders, parents, maybe officials. You can't overpromise.
You have to be even more rigorous about being realistic and upfront.
Definitely. Which leads us nicely into the final piece of the call to action, the ethical change-making challenge.
Okay, what's the challenge for our listeners?
It's a 3-step process. Spot, solve, implement.
First, spot an ethical risk in a project you know could be anything. A school event, a campaign.
Like the source example. A photo booth at a school dance. Fun idea, but what's the risk?
Photos getting posted online without everyone's okay. Embarrassment, privacy issues.
Right, so you spot the risk, then you redesign with ethics in mind. What's the fix?
Get explicit permission, a sign-up sheet, an opt-out option right there. Make it clear before photos are taken how they'll be used.
Perfect. That redesign directly addresses consent and safety.
Okay, so spot and redesign. What's next?
Step 2, solve, implement, and test. It's not usually a one-shot fix. You try the redesign, see how it works, get feedback, and tweak it.
Like that recycling team example.
Yeah.
Their first attempt failed because the bins were confusing.
Yeah, people kept putting stuff in the wrong bins. They didn't give up. They applied an ethical lens, thinking about inclusivity and clarity.
Added better labels, clearer instructions.
Color coding, simplified charts. They tested it, saw sorting improve, and iterated. They solved the ethical issue of unclear communication that led to failure.
So it's an ongoing process of improvement, always guided by those principles.
That's the core message. Innovation is great, but innovation without responsibility, it's incomplete. Real, meaningful success comes when solutions are ethical, inclusive, and actually work for people.
So wrapping up, we've really covered those 4 big lessons from the source, haven't we? Lead with empathy.
Design for everyone.
Stay accountable.
And always think long-term.
Integrity isn't just nice to have, it's what gives your innovation real power and makes it last.
Every single project, big or small, is a chance to build something people can truly trust.
So here's the challenge we want to leave you with today. Find one small problem, maybe in your school, maybe in your neighborhood. Just one.
Then grab that ethics compass. Think about a solution through the lens of empathy, inclusivity, transparency, accountability, and sustainability.
Design something that actively respects everyone involved. Then try it out. Test it small. Get feedback. Improve it.
And as you grow it, keep that integrity front and center.
Lead with curiosity, absolutely, but always lead with integrity.
That's how you go from just being an inventor to being a true changemaker.